The bookies are always watching you. As soon as you step onto their app, they're watching exactly how you operate, who you are, and what you do. Because at the end of the day, they are a business and their aim is to take as much money as possible off you as a customer. How they do it is super sophisticated. As soon as you don't give them money or act in the way that they want you to, they take away your promotions and ultimately they ban you. My name is JP, and in my 20s, I made $300,000 off the bookies through match betting. I'm also sitting here with Steve, and he's helped us build a community of over 1,400 members. At the end of this podcast, we want you to understand exactly how the bookies operate, how you can prevent yourself from being their perfect customer, and how you can understand how they psychologically manipulate you to ultimately get what they want, money out of your pocket. Once you understand how the bookies operate and know exactly what they want out of you, you can actually use that to your advantage to manipulate them. And that's what we've been able to do and many of our members have been able to do. So if you're a match bettor out there and you want to better understand the bookies, you're also going to get a lot out of this. Let's get into some of the things that they actually do so people can be aware of them.
Well, I think everyone probably knows this exists, but it is one that I think probably people don't actually understand why the bookies are doing, and that's deposit offers. And not just any old deposit offer, but generally very specific tailored deposit offers that the bookies love to send out. For instance, you'll get, if anyone is a punter out there and probably a losing punter, you're getting texts blowing up your phone Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon in particular. The bookies know, based off lots of data, just generally thinking about when the most likely times that punters will punt. They know that people are going to punt on the weekends. They know that Thursday's rolled around, there might be a game of footy on. They know that Friday's rolled around, it's the weekend. Blokes are at the pub, they're drinking beers. But they also probably know more detailed data as well, which is where it can get a little bit scary and where they're literally watching every single move that you're making. For instance, we obviously don't know this as a fact, but we could probably speculate that the bookies would know that, payday is Wednesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon. So the bookies send out specific texts to you based off potentially your behavior. They might know that you're, depositing regularly on a Thursday afternoon. So they're going to send you out a text offering you a deposit offer on Thursday afternoon. Now, as I said, these are just speculations. We don't know the exact details of what goes on there, but we've received many texts ourselves at these times. It's no surprise what they're doing. It's no shock. They're tracking your behavior because they know if they can hit you at the exact time where you're most susceptible, you've got more money in your account, you're more likely to deposit, chances are you're more likely to deposit.
Yeah, well, it's like if you've deposited, let's just say you're a bookie right now and you have the data. Not that anyone's sitting there doing it, but there would be automatic stuff for sure. I know you said it's speculation, but I'd put my money on this as a certainty. Like if you've deposited 8 out of the last 10 times on a Thursday night, it's a fair chance that either something's working because there's a footy match on or like you've been paid or something. And of course, if someone's always depositing at a certain time, as someone who thinks about marketing myself, I'm going to send you a text at that time to keep that behavior going, especially if you're losing. So that's one. Another one, if we're finished talking about that's just pretty scary to know because people probably don't think about that. They just see it as like a normal part of their week. Yep, cool, got a text from this company and whatever else. But even a layer deeper than this is, especially on smaller bookies, not so much Sportsbet and Tab and stuff like that. They do have them, but smaller bookies will get allocated managers for a specific account dedicated to that person. And their responsibility is to literally milk them for as much as they can. And it's pretty scary because what they do is they incentivize that person to basically make them lose. So they can give away AFL tickets, boxes, corporate boxes. Now, usually this is not going to happen straight away when you open up an account, but once they get a gist that you are essentially an addictive gambler and you're donating a lot of money, like we're talking thousands, tens of thousands, you will start copying like, hey, Steve, let's go to the box this weekend. We'll give you free tickets. And essentially what they're doing there is making sure that you are, like these people might be punting on 10 apps. But if Neds or Ladbrokes or smaller bookies pumping out, hey, we'll give you a corporate box, you're probably more likely to go and bet with them because they're fucking really nice and they're looking after you and whatever else. It's just like with anything, you go to the thing that's getting looked after or you're getting looked after. But what you don't know is that person is actually getting a share or a commission of your losses. Now, not specifically a share, but they will be hitting quotas. And if they don't hit those quotas, like obviously going into every bookie's different, their job is to literally milk you. So imagine someone, his job is to take your money and they're going to try and become friends with you. You've also then got affiliates who, going on to a third one here, like go to a Facebook group, one of the bigger Facebook groups. You'll probably see someone who owns the group pumping out an affiliate link for a bookie. Hey, deposit here and I'll look after you with X dollar match or whatever. And if you sign up through that link, that affiliate is going to get a payment in either a cost per acquisition model, which is like, okay, if I sign up 20 people, I get paid $50 per sign up, I make $1,000, or it's a revenue share where they're basically getting a percentage of your losses. So anyone who signs up on their link, let's say they sign up 100 punters and that link results in 50,000 worth of losses, that affiliate gets a 20% rev share, they make 10K. So these are the kind of things which are like happening that a lot of people I don't think would be aware of. There's many other things and we can go into them a little bit more, but those are probably three that I would say are the most surprising maybe. Would you agree? Or you think people know this shit?
I would say most people know some of those. I don't reckon people have any idea the extent of particularly the VIP managers, because generally speaking, you have to have been, to know about it, you either have to know someone who is themselves a VIP customer to a bookie, or you are that person. And there's not a lot of people who are VIP customers. Yeah. Like the average punter isn't. You don't walk into a pub and see 100 blokes betting on Sportsbet. None of them are VIP customers realistically. Maybe 1 in 100 are. So I think definitely people aren't aware just how intrusive and manipulative the bookies are with their VIP managers. That would definitely shock people. And you're right, they give them tickets, they give them incentives, they look after them, they text them, they become their friends. They literally treat them like their friend, which is quite scary. But one thing, that a lot of what you've touched on there is a lot about, enticing, I guess, people to get onto the app to bet. What would you say are some tricks that the bookies use to encourage people to keep betting, to stay on the app, to continue to lose, to fuel their addiction? What would you say are a couple of the tricks that the bookies are aware of? And is there any sort of science or research based on, potentially the behaviors of the bookies or their tricks or whatever? Yeah,
so one that comes to mind is something called the partial reinforcement. So what that means is, and this is like a refund offer, where you basically are getting something back as a result of your losses. So, for example, a classic example of that is the same game multi bonus back, guaranteed bonus back. Now, the other day I was sitting on a Facebook group and I thought this was a piss take, but it obviously wasn't. Someone had posted a bet and they said, hey, what do you think of this? And the guy said, yeah, I'm placing my bet because I've got a free hit this weekend because Sportsbet's giving me a bonus back guaranteed on the Origin. So the idea for that person is this is a free hit. So, but they have to put the $50 on, but he knows no matter what, he's assuming he's going to lose. He's already thinking it's a loss, but then he gets a free hit, which is from the bonus bet that they give you back. So that is an example of the punter losing, but they feel like they're not losing completely because they've now got another crack. So that in the brain is like partially winning back something, right? Even though we know that that's actually just not real money. Mm-hmm. And the punter's most likely going to lose again on that bonus bet. But essentially they get another opportunity to go again. So a couple of things are happening there. Now, we touched on this in the last podcast. We kind of said that you're guaranteeing 2 bets, right? As a bookmaker, if we were sitting there, we're like, all right, cool, give Steve this offer. He's going to lose his 50. But if he loses the 50, he's going to go again. And then he's placed 2 bets and he's most likely going to lose the bonus. So now he's placed 2 bets. And when you place 2 bets versus 1, you're more likely to become addicted to that habit. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, like, we can go into the bonus bets percentage that the bookies value them at. Like they kind of know that it's a cost. It's like 12%. We've kind of speculated and other people have spoken about. They know that if they give out 100K worth of bonuses on a Saturday, they're going to lose 12K as a bookmaker. That's a marketing cost. But they know as a result of that, they're applying the partial reinforcement theory, which is like the punter doesn't feel like they're fully losing because if they got nothing back, it's just lost $50. But because they're now given a bonus bet back, they feel like they haven't fully lost.
Yeah. I reckon just the general public, the general opinion is when someone gets a bonus bet back, I reckon it's a bit of a relief that people feel.
Yeah.
If someone misses a multi, misses by a leg, whatever, they're initially flat, missed my multi by one leg. But then it's like, oh, it's all right. I got my bonus bet back. Like that would be the general reaction most people have. It's like, oh, it's okay. We've got a plan B. It's fine. Rainbows and butterflies. It's all good. Happy days. Move on. That's what the bookies exactly want you to think because it's that safety net that you've got there with that that is reinforcing the behavior. Because it's like, oh, I've got the safety net of I'm going to get a bonus bet back. So this behavior is okay because there is a safety net.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe because we laugh about it. It's like people genuinely think sometimes that it's almost like they treat it like real money.
Yeah, 100% they do.
But they've lost $50, let's just say, and now they've got their bonus. Do they wonder after they've placed 2 bets that they've now lost $50, or do they not even think about that?
That's a good question, actually.
Like, because when does the time come where it's like, fuck, I've lost $50? Is it when the first bet loses, or is it after the bonus, or is it like, okay, that bet would happen on a Thursday, I then got my bonus on a Friday, and you've forgotten about the 50, but then you say, oh, bonus in my account, I'm going to have another crack. And now you've completely dissociated the fact that you've actually lost 50 to get that bonus.
It's almost like you've distracted yourself or you've been distracted that you lost the $50 because you're happy that you've got a bonus bet back.
You lost your memory about losing the 50.
Yeah, so it's like there's like a couple of set of events. You've deposited the 50, lost the 50, but you've got the bonus bet back straight away. So you've forgotten that you've lost the 50 because you've got the bonus bet back. So then your only short-term focus is on the bonus bet. And then you lose that and you're like, oh, well, who cares? It was only a bonus bet. Like that's the reaction when you lose the bonus. It's like, oh, all of a sudden it's not real money. It was real money when you lost your $50 and got the bonus bet. Like people treat it as real money because they can have another bet. But when they lose it, it's like they don't treat it as real money. That's actually, it's an interesting point.
Yeah, well, it's exactly why the bookies give them away because they know you're thinking like this and the ideal customer would think like this. So it's like they know that some people are going to win on that bonus. That's the other thing as well. They know that some people might win on the first bet, but ultimately they know the math here and the data says that if you hand out these bonus bets, it's going to make someone more likely to keep betting. And if you incentivize the type of bet that they want, which is a same game multi most of the time or a same race multi or whatever, they're going to get more of those bets placed if there's an incentive or a lure at the end of that or in front of that carrot. Like you're dangling the carrot, hey, here's your same game multi. We'll give you a bonus no matter what. Place the same gamer because we know that we're going to fuck you in the background, basically, and do it. And we'll give you a reward for it no matter what happens. We're going to look after you if you place that bet. When in reality, like, they just know that if you place those kind of bets long term, like 99% of people are going to lose money and get addicted to it.
It's funny the way that you say that. It's like they're actually controlling your behavior. They're controlling punters' behavior.
Fully.
They're creating their own ideal customers. They're dragging you in with these deposit offers, these VIP managers like we talked about, and now they're actually manipulating you to become their ideal customer. You're not going to go and bet on a normal multi together when there's no bonus bet return guaranteed on it. Like you might, but if there is an option to place a same game multi where you're guaranteed a bonus bet back, I'd say 99.9% of punters are going to be on for that. So they're actually controlling your behavior because they want you to do that. They want you to be placing those bets. They know that that is going to be beneficial for their business. They know they're going to profit in the long term by doing that, which is a little bit scary, and I don't think probably a lot of punters think about. Backtracking a little bit, you talked about the partial reinforcement. I think another interesting topic, this falls into this category that I was just sort of reading about before that I wanted to touch on. It goes actually pretty deep, and it's a question that I want to ask you, but I'll first talk about this. So there's this idea of variable ratio reinforcement, which I was reading about before. And it's this idea that something that is incredibly addicting for humans is this idea that they don't know what they're going to get. So they put money on the line.
Like the unknown.
The unknown.
Yeah.
The unknown is the addiction. They're unsure. Like, and this is pokies. The pokie machines really rely on this. Is this idea of variable ratio reinforcement, which essentially means that you could randomly be rewarded for a behavior, but you don't know when you're going to be rewarded. So you can put money on the line. You don't know when you'll be rewarded, and it very much varies the gap between when you get rewarded. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So essentially what this means is that the bookies and the pokie machines, I'll use the pokie machines, but the bookies would obviously use it too. But the pokie machines are built on this idea that you will get rewarded. You will eventually. I'm not saying in the long term your reward's going to outweigh the...
Well, yeah, you're going to win.
You're going to win.
But you might not profit.
Correct. But you will be rewarded eventually. On a spin, on a bet, you will be rewarded. You don't know when that's going to happen, and you don't know how big that reward's going to be, but it will happen. That's essentially the idea of this variable ratio reinforcement. So essentially what happens is this causes gamblers to think that they are only one step away. They're always potentially only one step away, because they can have 50 losses in a row, but they're not thinking about the 50 losses. They're seeing it as, well, I'm now one step closer to that next win. So this idea of variable ratio reinforcement essentially just keeps luring punters in, because they think, hang on, I've already lost 10. I'm not going to give up now because I've just had 10 steps of losses, which has gotten me closer to my next win, because I know it's coming. It is coming, but they don't know when.
That's like sunk cost fallacy a bit, yeah.
And it's tied in with
that.
the sunk cost fallacy too.
And it's also, now that you've said that, I think it ties into availability heuristic, which means that you don't hear about, for example, a completely different analogy is you don't hear about the 364 days of the year where there wasn't a shark attack.
Yeah.
On the news. You only hear about the day that someone got attacked in the bay, whatever. But 99% of the other days, that didn't happen. And 99.5% of punters lose. So you don't hear about, like, Sportsbet's not going to post, or someone in a Facebook group's not going to post about his fucking multi that lost by 8 legs. That just is not spoken about. So when someone wins, and this is the only reason why people would gamble, if no one fucking won ever, and you could never post a bet slip, pretend photos of bet slips were not existing, the revenue or the turnover of betting would completely drop, because now it's like, fuck, no one wins. Why the fuck would I do that? Tats Lotto, someone wins Tats Lotto. They're posted about. That's the availability heuristic. One person out of 10 million people won. 999,999 didn't win. They're not posting about them. So when you see that at the top, that's like, well, hang on, I could be that person. That could be me. And they're like, you're striving to be that. And that goes into your thing. You might get rewarded. You could get rewarded. You eventually will get rewarded. And when you add on, fuck yes, someone's getting rewarded. Or look at that person, they jackpot on the pokie machine when you're in there. Someone in that tab is going to be winning at that in that day. Or they're going to have a win. They might not walk out because they'll probably donate it back. But if you don't hear about it winning, and there's no hope there, why would you bet? So it's like, this is really deep, like psychologically. And people who say it's not, well, fuck. Like, you need to wake up to it, because we just touched on 4 things there, and they all link, and it's just a big, like, network of psychological manipulation.
So that leads me to the question I want to ask you. So obviously we love talking about these things, and we've got a long list, and it was actually hard to know where to begin with this list of things that we had to talk about. But do you reckon the bookies, there would be people, as you just said, it's not that deep. Do you reckon the bookies are sitting around a table in their marketing team, like having these conversations, talking about these bits of research, these theories, partial reinforcement, we haven't even touched on aversion to loss, gambler's fallacy, availability heuristic, these theories that we've just sort of touched on very briefly. Do you reckon they're aware of it? Do you reckon they have these conversations? Do you reckon this drives potential decisions that they make, whether it's the making of their app, whether it's marketing, whatever it may be?
Yes. I don't think the marketing team's sitting there saying availability heuristic, partial reinforcement, whatever, but they're doing it without specifically knowing that they're doing it. So they're essentially looking at punters' behavior and then knowing what they do, how they think, and then hitting them with the stuff that makes them do what they want. So yes, but in saying that, there would be professors and PhD psych people that are on the, not the board of Sportsbet, but like they're maybe telling the marketing team what the focus is because of this behavior. Like at the end of the day, they are trying to get the most money possible out of you in the most efficient way with the least amount of costs. So if they, like if you're betting, for example, something I want to speak about, we might have to talk about this a bit later, is like your ROI on turnover. If you lose $500 in 6 months, but you take $20,000 worth of bets to lose $500, like you have win, win, loss, win, win.
Yeah.
And after a while you lost 500, but it takes you 6 months. Like you've taken, what's that ROI? Like 500 divided by 20K. What's that? It's like
not much.
2.5%.
Yeah, 2.5%. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got a 2.5% profit on turnover as a customer on the bookie. But if you lose that $500 on a Saturday in one day across 1,500 worth of bets, all of a sudden you've got like a 33% POT for the bookie. Who do you think is going to be a better customer? Obviously the person who loses it quicker. So they're going to try and like manipulate you into doing these kind of things better. And how they do that is like whether they sit around it in a room, I'm not sure, but they definitely are sitting there like, all right, how can we make this easier to do? Like for example, Bet with Mates. That was introduced back in, I know exactly when, it was like 2021, I reckon July-ish when it first got released. And I don't think we knew it then as genius, but it didn't exist until 4 years ago. And before that, it was like punters clubs, right? You had to go and write it down, collect everyone's money, bank transfer, fucking count who made what every week, whatever. But now they've just made it so easy to do. And they've done this because they know that, I mean, you can get into the psych of the neuro of like the brain of why this happens if you want, but common sense tells you that if you put a bunch of young egotistical males in a room together, they're more likely going to do, what's the word, like
dumb shit,
more daring shit. Yeah, egg each other on, peer pressure each other, and knowing that punters clubs are going to accelerate that behavior because they're together in a room. You combine alcohol, drugs, whatever else with that, you just get this convenient thing. And they've made this thing on an app where you don't have to do all the fucking shit of like the calculations and all that. We'll just do it for you. We'll make it easy for you to fucking lose your money. Like let's put them all together. And then something like that, like that's 100% come from like either the site guy at the top or like maybe the marketing team. Maybe it's just an idea. Even like just as simple as same game multis. Like same game multis haven't been around for more than 10 years. Whoever created that idea is a fucking genius.
So if you found that interesting about Bet with Mates, what about Share with Mates? Share this content so that they can learn too.
It all comes back to psychology. Everything that they do comes back to psychology. We could have this conversation for 20 hours and we'd not still cover everything.
It's scary. It is scary. I think
also, sorry, I won't interrupt, but one thing you have to understand if you are a punter is you're competing with like thousands of employees against you. If you do one thing wrong, you lose. It's so hard to actually win. Now, whether this is about winning or profiting, this isn't. But if you have 50, 60, 70, 80 different things that can work against you, eventually one of them's going to hit you. And if you're not aware of them, you're pretty high chance of actually just becoming another victim, another number to the bookies.
Yeah, like unfortunately you are. I mean, like it's
pretty grim if you're a punter. If you don't know what you're doing, you literally no hope. But also like the upgrades in like apps and tools and features, which are fully crazy now. Like honestly, I could name 3 things that are fully genius. How long do you reckon? First one is Blackbooks. How long have they been open for? They're a while, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's always been a thing with horse racing, I reckon.
Well, that's an example of an OG thing that just makes you like kind of think that you've got the edge or like you have this kind of control because you saw that horse win last time. It's now more likely to win.
Yeah. But there's been improvements with it for sure. Yeah. In terms of the fact that now a lot of the bookies will give you a notification when your black book horse is running.
Like you won last time on this one even. Back it again sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's, and the beauty of that as well is it's apples and oranges. Yes, you might have backed a horse that you then put into your black book, but it might have been running in a donkey race in Ipswich, and now it's running Flemington race 4 in a way higher class, and it's on a different track, different conditions, different whatever, million different variables. But of course, you don't see that. You don't think that. You just go, I've won on this before. This is a good horse. I'm going to back it again. And the bookies know you're going to think that as well. So they send you a notification. Your black book horse is running. What are you going to do? Tell me you're not. Because if you don't back that as well and it wins, then you're going to be like, oh, why did I not back that? So you're going to get FOMO there too.
That's gambler's fallacy, that one. It's like you believe that it's like, I don't know, your lucky number came up, or it's kind of touching on the illusion of control as well. It's like, oh, it's my wife's birthday, back to 13, or it's my wife's name, back that. It's kind of like it's just layers and layers. But another feature is they've now got, we can go one step back, the same game multi tracker. So you can check your progress. Like you don't have to wait till the end of the match, go on the AFL app, check the disposals. It literally shows you, okay, the progress bar as well as whether it's a plus, whether it's a green tick or a red tick. And you can kind of be like, fuck yeah, I've got 2 out of 3 legs. Like you're sitting there watching that. Like let's just say you weren't watching the match and you're on their app. Now in the meantime, you might be looking at other shit, thinking about tomorrow's same gamer. That's all designed to keep you there. Then you go again. Now they've got like the actual form of the player before you place the bet. So they've now got his last like 5 matches where they've got how many goals he kicked, how many disposals he had, depending on the market. And you don't have to then exit their app to go on like another website to check the disposals yourself. You don't have to do any research. It's all done for you, convenience, accessible, increased time on their app, more likely to gamble, more money spent, more money lost, whatever. And then one last thing is that they're even doing this with like more so horse racing now as well, like the form analyzer. I don't know how long this has been a thing. It's obviously progressed. They've even got like expert tips on the app. They've got popular same game multis, popular multis. So like all of these things are just designed for you to do, I guess, less thinking and just pressing buttons, essentially becoming like a, I don't know, is it fair to say like they're just trying to make you become, what's the word I'm looking for?
An expert? Or
no, not
cog?
even.
I don't know which.
What? No, like more just like you're almost like a fucking rat in a lab. Like you're just like clicking buttons without even a thought. Like you give the rat a pill and test it. Like it's just going to eat whatever you feed it. It's like if you don't think about any decision you make.
Do you reckon that's why they do it though?
Well, it's not just one reason. It's everyone's different.
Yeah, of course.
It hits different people in different ways. Some people are just lazy as like, even just like Apple Pay, like being available on your phone. It's just easier to deposit. If you have to walk down to the tab and put your money in the machine, 1, that's too hard. 2, you're probably going to look at the note and be like, fuck, do I really want to lose this? Whereas if it's just a number on the screen, and even sometimes not even having to put the fucking CCV in on your card, you can't remember the digits. Fuck, got to go downstairs, get my wallet. Fuck it, Apple Pay, fucking instant. Press 2 buttons and it's done. And it's like these are the things that just make it way easier for you to lose.
They just want to make it as simple as possible for you to make a decision.
Decreasing the friction to achieve what they want. Removing any reason for you not to lose.
Yeah. If you are uncertain about a bet, or should I do this, should I do that? It's like as soon as there's a gap between you having time to actually think about what you're doing, then that's probably less likely that you're going to bet, right? So if they provide as much information to you or make it as simple as and as easy as possible for you to place a bet and to make a decision about a bet, then you're more likely to do it. I think one thing that you potentially could add to that as well is all this form and all this data that they're giving you, they're just feeding you what you want to read and what you want to hear and what they want you to see. Like just because someone has kicked a couple of goals 5 games in a row doesn't mean they're going to kick it this time. But you see that and you're like, oh, well, they've done it for the last 5. So you get this idea of this illusion of expertise. You're like, oh, hang on, no, I do know more about this because they're telling me this data And so therefore you're more likely to act, you're more likely to make a decision because you're not going to go, oh, is he playing well? Is he been kicking goals? No, you can see it right there and then. It's as efficiently provided to you as quick as possible. Therefore, you're more likely to make a bet based on the assumption that you actually know more than what you do. But in reality, you're just falling straight into their tricks.
But what you've just said there is spot on. But the odds are made by that company already knowing that. They already know he's kicked 2 goals in his last 5 games. So it's going to be like $1.20. Because it's going to be much less likely than the actual probability if you were to put it out. Now, obviously, there's variation between bookies, but that's another thing. Like, punters are not going to actually look on another app to get the best price. They'll just place it because it's convenient there, and then you're already losing even more, even if you win. So it's like you're losing on their edge as well when you actually win bets.
If you say to a punter, going a little bit off topic, but if you say to a punter like, oh, you know, you found a market that you like. Have you checked it on Bet365? Have you checked it on Ladbrokes? Have you checked it on Sportsbet? Have you checked it on Tab? Like, reality is all the sharpest punters in the world, all the best punters in the world, they're taking the best odds, right? Of course you would. If you go and buy a T-shirt, you know, you're going to go and maybe not a T-shirt, but if you're buying
a car or a house,
a car or a house, you're going to go and get the cheapest on the market available to you for the particular product you want.
For the same thing, yeah.
100%. But people with punting, they're just going to take whatever's easiest to them.
Yeah, because it's convenience.
Yeah.
And it's not even that deep. I think they just don't even think. For them, it's not that deep. It's just like place the bet, whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like when you ask a punter, like you've done a couple of videos about this, is like, if you win a bet, can we assume that 100% of winning bets were good bets? That's one that's like, oh, of course it's a good bet at 1. It's like, I think someone put something on Twitter the other day that they hit like a winner and it was a quaddie or something like, and they could have like done it in a different way that it would have been like a 5x higher payout, and the person was celebrating and all the people were just rinsing him because like if you did it in a different way, I don't know the exact thing, but it's like he could have made an extra 3 times his money.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have a clue. And it's like, well, yeah, he won the bet, but like you could argue his variance is now way less in terms of he could have won 3x that and been in a better position, but he just sees it as winning. So it's like, cool, yeah, that's fucking sick, whatever.
Yeah. Punters, I think one way that punters I don't think this way, and they should. It's like, if you place this bet 100 million times or infinite times, 1,000 times, or phrase it differently, would you place this bet 1,000,000 times? If the answer is no, then you shouldn't be placing it once.
Yeah.
If you're even if it's $1, if you're placing this dollar bet, would you place this dollar bet 1,000,000 times? Would you outlay $1 million on this selection over a period of time? If the answer is no, then why are you doing it once? People would never think that way, but reality is that's how you're going to that's how you have to think to profit in the long term.
Yeah. But what about, so to counter that, that's spot on. What if people just say, but I'm just doing it for fun and I'm just doing it because I feel like I want to get a bit of enjoyment out of the game?
Yeah, well, how much fun, how much do you pay for fun, I suppose?
I mean, there is an element of, like we've touched on this 100 times, there is an element of like, I guess fun's not the word. It's like thrill, but realistically, a lot of people aren't actually doing it deep down for fun. And it's like, because when they lose, they chase their losses. So they weren't doing it for fun. They were trying to win. And then when they win, they bet more because they wanted to turn that into more money. So ultimately, they weren't betting for fun. They were trying to make money. And you can touch on the thing about the thrill aspect of when is the brain most active in terms of like before the bet's placed, after the bet's placed, while the bet's running. And I think you did a poll last year in March, and I think this is backed up by a lot of studies, is the brain is most active after the bet has been placed, but before the result has happened.
From a bit of the research I've read, I'll provide a bit of context as well. Generally, there's a lot of there's 2 key terms that are talked about, and it's the anticipation and the outcome. So it's they love to look at a gambler's brain in anticipation and outcome. So pre-event, post-event, essentially. And yeah, they find that a gambler's brain is most active and most stimulated during the anticipation phase. So they've placed the bet, but they haven't actually seen the race happen. The game hasn't started yet. They're just simply anticipating. And that in itself is the most stimulated, the most addictive part of gambling in general. And a little bit of extra study that I was looking at as well, which sort of continues on from this as well. They like the incredible thing. I probably only spent maybe 2 hours this morning just having a look at some research with gambling. There's so much unknown with it, which is scary at the same time. There's a lot known, but there's so much unknown because it's an addiction. Addiction's different for everyone. It's crazy for everyone. So it's hard to have a solution for it in that sense because there is so much unknown. But one thing they did find was, this was a theory anyway, was generally speaking during that anticipation phase for a gambler, they're part of the brain. I think this is, I'm not too sure exactly the striatum or something. I remember saying it to you before, but can't remember the exact name. But there's a part of your brain that is responsible for like rewarding behavior. And so like you, for instance, let's just say it's part X. I don't know what the exact name of the brain is, but it's like if you realize that going to the gym makes you feel better, then this part of your brain goes, hey, keep doing that activity because it is good for you. And therefore, on the flip side, I imagine it's like, keep doing this activity because it's bad for you, you wouldn't, you can also decipher both of them. A gambler's brain is less active. That part of a gambler's brain is less active during this this early phase. What was it called? Sorry, the Anticipation phase. During the anticipation phase, the reward part of a gambler's brain is like, it's almost like numb. It hasn't got much activity in it. So they're not identifying, they're not creating the links during the anticipation phase that this activity is actually bad for them, that it is not going to reward them. They're completely somewhat oblivious to it. They're just completely, I don't know, consumed in a trance almost by it, which is a little bit scary. But then sort of what you were touching on before as well, there's this other idea of this incentive sensitization theory as well, which is another sort of theory they talk about with gamblers. And this is the idea that a gambler becomes so addicted to something when that change of I want to win changes to I need to win. So all of a sudden when that transition happens of no longer is someone just punting for fun, they're punting for fun. If you're punting for fun, I want to win. But if it doesn't win, it's not a problem. But as you're saying before, it's not. People aren't actually punting for fun. They're punting because they want to win. They need to win. Or they're punting for money. Or they're punting because they're down 10K in the hole and they need to get this money back. Or they're punting because they feel the need to impress their mates, whatever it is. Once that like purpose of punting changes from want to need, and this isn't just punting, this is anything addiction. As soon as it goes from I want this to I need this, drugs, alcohol, tobacco, coffee, absolutely anything, that is when you are obviously you're going to be most addicted to it because you need it. It's like your well-being, like your purpose in life is actually riding on whether you get this feeling, this thrill, this drug, this endorphin release, whatever it is. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, and a lot of people won't even know that they feel that need because they're just doing it subconsciously almost. Like on a Saturday, you might be down $1,000 and the last race comes and it's like, fuck, I could stop here or I could I really need to get, I can't pay my rent this week or something like that. I'm putting $1,000 on the last race here. I'm going into my savings. And if I get this back, I'm back. Like I'm back to zero or I'm back to whatever. And it's like, I need this. And then it's like, well, hang on. If it loses, brother, you're down 2K. Then you're fucked. But that's not the thought. It's like, I need it back. And then it's just like, you're done.
Well, when you think about it, it's like they need it. So they're not going to think about what might happen if they don't get it because all they can think about is what they need. It's like, well, regardless of if they go down 2K, then they just need 2K. If they go down 4K, then they just need 4K. So it's like, how can you you're going to basically risk it all because you need to get what you need to get. And obviously the higher that need is, the more likely you are to do pretty brazen activities. People might be listening to this going like, why are these guys talking about this? Like, it's not that deep, whatever. But, one thing that we really try to do, I suppose, is just to make people more aware, raise people's awareness by having these conversations and talking about these theories. Some of it's speculative, some of it isn't even proven, some of it's why the bookies do this, some of it people are just like, yeah, the bookies do that. But it's ultimately trying to raise awareness so that potentially the next time you go and do something, you don't do it.
Yeah, I think if you're more self-aware just in anything, and you stop and think, you are going to have a better decision. it's like if you interviewed 100 people on the street, right, who bet, most of them wouldn't see, this sounds fucked, they wouldn't see Sportsbet as a business. Like they don't think Sportsbet is trying to make money. They don't see Sportsbet having thousands of employees. They don't see the planning and the thinking and the strategy behind what they present. They don't think about getting Nathan Brown on the TV is going to help more people place bets because he's an AFL hero. I think he's damaged his reputation now a bit, but like people would still see that and be like, fuck, I'm just going to do that. So like when you stop and think and you become aware that like these bookies are a business that are designed to take your money, and the only way that they profit is if someone loses. It's a full zero-sum game. Something has to lose for the company to win. It's not like our business. We get paid, right, and then someone benefits. You lose money. Yeah, cool. The bookies will say, and people will say like fun, entertainment, enjoyment of the game, enjoyment of racing and sport, but that's not like a currency. That is just a feeling. So it's like, it's a zero-sum game. If the punters didn't lose, the bookies wouldn't win. So it's like, if you're aware of that, all of a sudden you shouldn't see these guys as your mates. You should see them as like, not an enemy, but like they pretty much are against you. That's their business goal, is to take your money. So it's like, when you think that, it's like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't listen to what they want me to do. Okay, do same game multis, do add more legs, add a boost here, bet with your mates. Don't follow people's tips. That's fucking stupid. Why would you do that? Like, all these ads are designed to tell you exactly what to do and what not to do for them. So do the opposite.
They're brilliant. They're fully brilliant.
Like, you could make a whole YouTube on every ad that they make and pull it apart.
One that I love is, I think I might have done a video on it, but it's the Punting God Ad.
Yeah.
That they have, Sportsbet have. It's a Punting God Ad. So
like Egyptian one.
It's like a guy's like floating. He's like,
oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
They're at like,
maybe Indian sort of.
Yeah,
thing.
they might be in India or something.
Yeah,
at like they're not at the Taj Mahal. They're in the mountain range or something. But they're in like what looks like a really,
like heaven or something.
Yeah, it's sort of like heaven or whatever. But there's just this guy floating, and he's just like above air, floating on like a cloud, and he's in like a trance, like meditative type, like monk. He's almost like a monk, like literally a god. And they're like, whoa, like who is this guy? And I can't remember the exact thing, but they're talking about how he's a god because he hit a 22-leg same game multi the weekend before or something. Like, people see that and just think it's funny. This is the brilliance of Sportsbet. They see that and like, haha, that's really funny. But they're like subconsciously telling you, if you want to be a god amongst your mates, go and try and hit a 22-leg same game multi. And everyone will praise you. Like, that's the message. When you look at it, it's like, oh, that's sort of pretty funny. Like, yeah, you're a champion, mate. But it's like, hang on, like, you're a champion because you've placed a 22-leg same game multi and it's got up. For every one that hits, there's a billion people living in the slums for this one god.
Availability heuristic. It's like that he's the god. That is the outlier, rare example. But we're going to promote that because that's what we want you to do. And going back to Bet with Mates, I know we've gone back on it. We've moved on to a different topic, but I just thought of two other things. Bet with Mates didn't start with a group chat in it. Bet with Mates didn't start with a leaderboard in it. Bet with Mates didn't start with, I don't know what other things they have, but they just keep adding layers and layers of like cool shit on top of it to further manipulate you. I just thought of something before as well with racing. Have you ever looked or thought about this one? When you go on the app, you can see, well, firstly, next in run, so you can see what races are happening next. It's not Flemington. You have to scroll to 20 different things to get there. Previously you had, but now it's like click here, straight to that race. That's in 2 minutes. Click that. It's convenient for you to get there. But then you've got the countdown, so it's like a minute left. It goes red, and that's like a bit of urgency there. You're creating a bit of like, fuck, it's going to start. I better place my bet. I reckon if that was green or if it was just a black color or a white color, it's going to make it less urgent. It's like, well, fuck, that's going to, I wanted to back something here. I've got to do it quick. And then it goes into minus and it's like, fuck, it's like the bomb's going to go off. It's like.
So are you saying that they've like actively chosen the color red?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Now I
Yeah.
can't tell you the psych, but
I
I
actually
know,
can tell you.
Yeah, green is in I think it's marketing is like green is money or blue is money or something like that.
I couldn't tell you that. I just know that red. I'm fairly sure red has the most memorable.
Yeah.
Like you're more likely to remember the color red, something like this. I only remember this through. I remember like my chemistry teacher told me, he's like, when you write notes, put the keywords in red because you're more likely to remember them. Yeah, I don't know whether that's true, but I think like blue is like considered warm or some shit. Like I'm making that one up. The red one, I'm pretty certain you are more likely to remember the color red. Like that's why stop signs are red. That's why, or maybe it's you're not likely to remember it, but you're more likely to notice it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, green is money.
Green is money.
Often associated with wealth. So probably why there's a green tick. But like even the green ticks, they never used to be a thing. Now you can see like man, you can put like a green tick, 20 green ticks in a row and just put it on a thing and someone's looking at it. It's just like, it's really hard to comprehend now and understand because it's become so normal that we've just forgotten about what it wasn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like we kind of forgotten what it was. It's like when you learn heaps of shit about a topic. You go back 10 years, it's taking you to learn. You forget what you knew at day one. But now it's become such a norm. Like, for example, same game multis only started 5 years ago, but they feel like they're just part of punting now. They've been around since the start of betting. And it's like now it's become like that is the normal way to bet. 20 years ago, people were just placing singles. And they're doing their dough on like a win bet on a horse each time. It's like one race, hit. One race, hit. Now it's like, fuck, you can put 10 races together. You can put 3 things in one race together. And it's just making you do it more frequent with more money and ultimately creating more addiction, essentially, to the behavior because you're doing it like in different ways.
It's pretty scary. You could dive pretty deeply there, and it's the fact that going a little bit off topic, I guess, but I know you'll like this. The idea that humans will just adapt to it. Like, it's very cool that humans will just adapt to it. Like this transition of, same game multis now, same game multis. We forget that same game multis didn't even exist. But it wasn't even that long ago. But now everyone just accepts that that's the new normal and we all just do exactly as we're being told to do with it, which it's a little bit scary. Maybe we'll move on past that topic.
I don't know what you were hinting at there, but
well,
it's
just
almost
like, it didn't exist 5 years ago and now it's just completely normal. Whereas if
I could go to one here, but I don't know if you want to.
Say it.
But like in 2020, right? If someone told you that for you to go back to work, you needed to get a needle, would you have believed? And then the whole world had to do that. Would you have believed that?
No, because you did tell me that actually, and I didn't believe you.
Yeah, and then a year later,
it happened. Yeah,
people rinsing people who didn't get it done.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is an example of like...
That's what I mean with same game multis.
But I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying that is what can happen when you say things enough times. It's repetitive hypnosis. It becomes just, you forget.
Yep.
Especially if you expose yourself to this shit. Like, for example, the news, that if you say it 20 times in a month to do something, eventually they're going to do it. If you put an ad out on the TV, we haven't even touched on ads here.
No.
Like, you can't hide from this shit.
Yeah.
So you go to the footy, ad. You go on the AFL website, ad. You go on the app, ad. Odds. You go on radio, odds. You go on fucking footy, listening to the footy, SEN, talking about racing. Like, you can't hide from it.
No.
It's everywhere. If you're a kid, like, you're getting exposed to this shit much earlier. You're entering into the cycle of addiction. And then by the time you get to 20, you said this in the podcast, I reckon, I don't know which one it was, 2 times ago. What happened during COVID, the lockdown, I reckon, like, has created a full-on army of losing punters that it would have been way more numerous than if it didn't happen.
Sorry, way more numerous. What do you mean?
We had the 30-day marathons, right?
Yeah.
And no one else could, like, you couldn't do anything. Like, everyone was just at home, whatever, lockdowns. But instead of placing bets on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is the normal AFL round, and I would even say this is why this is the case, because the marketing and the sponsorships run the whole AFL essentially. You've now got bets on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Most rounds now are 4 days, not 3. But during that period, there was a 30-day in a row of AFL. I think 30, yeah?
Yeah, it was a game every night.
It was a marathon, right?
2, yeah.
Every night there was those promos. And they've essentially created this, like, pretend you were 18 at that time. You're now way more advanced than you would be if you were doing that once a week. Because you're doing it every day. When you say
advanced, you've like sped up the development of your addiction.
You're correct, exactly. You've moved along the cycle of addiction because you've done it more frequently in a shorter period of time. And that's the whole aim of this all. It's like the more you can stay on the app, the more you can do these behaviors, the more you can do the dumb shit, the more we can get you betting with mates, the more we can just accelerate and compound and multiply all this shit, you're going to give us more money.
Yeah.
So let's try and do everything we can to get people to do the dumbest shit in the most frequent manner with the most quantity. And just add layers on top of that.
Yeah.
Fucking...
I mean, there's no surprise that the gambling industry has blown up. I mean, you touch on like COVID, that it's sped up the development. Now, obviously, like, once again, this is speculation. We don't have facts behind this, but like, I fully agree with you. And, you know, I guess the facts are, you look at the gambling industry, it is fully blown up. Like, in terms of, I don't have the exact figures, we've talked about it in previous podcasts, but it is scary.
Well, people were saying racing turnover was down the last 2 years or 3 years. I don't know the facts either, the stats. But I said something the other day somewhere, and someone commented racing turnover's down or something. But it's like, well, what about sport? Like, I don't know. So we probably should have the stats if we're going to speculate. But
yeah, well, I reckon if we...
I would say sport's up. Like, anecdotally... I'm going to say that, as in same-game multis, it has to go up, no?
I don't know. If I had to take a guess as to why racing turnover's gone down, I'd say it's because the market percentages are so shit now that the big fish pro punters aren't betting as much. And I've seen a few people on Twitter, a few racing gurus on Twitter say that they're outlaying, you know, 25% of what they're usually outlaying over a 12-month period or whatever.
The edge is decreased.
Yeah, because they simply can't find any value.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they're not making more money, though, because I'd argue there's more punters punting.
That's the thing. It's like...
It's just the big fish aren't.
Yeah, and you can manipulate these things in a way where, like, the bookies aren't saying racing turnover's down, but, like, I think, like we said before, I think the way to punt has completely changed. Like, pro punters will always still back singles, right? They'll still back their way with the unit size, with bankroll management, with their form, with their edge, whatever that they make. But the average punter, the mug, the degenerate, the person who loses the most amount of money is not betting the same way they did 20 years ago. They're now betting in more degenerate ways. They're losing faster because it's easier to lose, it's more convenient, and they're doing it in ways which is pushing them along that addiction cycle more. So I'm going to say that, like, we haven't even seen the negativeness of that 2020 yet.
Oh, man.
Like, it's happening in front of us, but we don't actually know the stats yet for another 10 years. And off topic, USA, they're in the process right now of becoming the worst gambling nation on the planet. Like, Australia wins, but obviously they win because they have more population. But they're in probably the phase we were in probably in like 2017, 2018. But now they have the advantage of that acceleration of they have parlays straight away.
Yeah.
When people start gambling in the US, because it's just been legalized.
Do they have same game parlays?
Yeah, that's sort of parlay. Oh yeah, same game parlay. Yeah, correct. Yeah. They have it all.
Yeah.
But when Australia started, like online especially, there was none of this shit. It was not the same game. It was like in 2000 and I started, my first ever bet was like 2010.
Yeah.
And we just did multis, right? And some singles. There was no same gamers. But now you start betting at 18 and you're doing parlays and same gamers straight away.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, so it's scary for them because they're getting hit with the most addictive.
Yeah.
Like, they're basically copying the brilliance of 20 years of research from the bookies' point of view thrown at them, and they're immature punters. Like, they're completely oblivious to completely everything.
Yeah.
So they're just going to get smoked. Absolutely. Like, it's actually, and it's funny, you look at the other side of that spectrum, and you look at Europe, they're further advanced than us.
Yeah, they're...
As in, like, their market's a lot more mature. They've banned promotions years ago. I think the UK might have slight promotions left. It's even gotten to the point where, on the other side of the spectrum, you've got your your Scandinavian countries. Now, typical Scandinavian countries are a lot more progressive. Like, they're really good with recycling, green energy and all that shit. And obviously they're very good with their gambling understanding and the impact. They're currently banning at the moment. This goes into a little bit of a topic that we've talked about in the past, and I might have talked about it, but they're currently banning in video games the ideas of like gambles within video games. So it's like if you have like a mystery box, Call of Duty is a perfect example. People would know, and people would know the mystery box in Call of Duty, but what that is you basically spend 100 coins, currency.
Do you have to buy that?
You can. So it can be real money, because a lot of the games these days you can actually, like, you can accumulate coins in games and stuff by doing objectives and stuff, but like the best elite players who want the skins and they want the right guns and they want the best attributes, they just put in $100. So it is real money. Yes, it's coins, but it does have a currency, it does have value in real life. So it is essentially real money, right? And you trade this to the mystery box in being completely unbeknown to what you're going to get. This is sort of going back to that variable ratio reinforcement I was talking about. You're basically giving money, not knowing what reward you're going to get. Now, the Scandinavian countries, they're banning this. They're literally saying this is a form of gambling. We do not want this because we know that this leads to people speeding up the progression along that becoming addicted spectrum that you're talking about. They get pushed further along from a young age, from 8, 9, 10. All of a sudden, they're gambling without even knowing it. They're building those pathways, and then it becomes a real thing once they become 18, and they're banning it. America, they're just going, hey, load up on same-game parlays.
Because now it's legal, and we know that this is going to basically make us a lot of money. So it's free reign. They're giving away promos that are fucking crazy, like, because they know that they can give that much away, knowing that the person's going to be addicted to the behavior eventually and donate their money.
Sorry for interrupting, but just a quick message. If you find it easier to listen to these podcasts as opposed to watching them, they are available on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Enjoy the rest of the show.
I've got an interesting thought. Well, no, maybe it's not interesting. I found it interesting. But I had a thought. This is a bit different to online casinos. Speaking of online casinos, I'm just going to be hit. You won't know what I'm about to say. I'm just going to hit you. Is there a chance? So online casinos are currently like blowing up, right? We've obviously seen the whole Tim Naki thing, and they're blowing up everywhere. They're on paid ads. It's a little bit scary. But you can go and play like online casinos without real money, right? It's just like a phantom game or whatever. You're not actually depositing. You're just playing with fake coins or something. Would this be ridiculous to think that those games have been like sucked in to let you win? The ones where you don't actually play with real money, like they've been manipulated. Like online casinos, it's all just fake, and like it's real. Like you can win real money, but you're going to lose, and the odds are completely against you, and it's all just algorithms and stuff, and it's backed against you. Is there a chance that the ones where you don't put your real money into, they are designed to win, so that people play it not with their real money, but they go, hey, I just started with 10 fake credits. Now I've got 100 fake credits after playing for a day. Now I've got 1,000 fake credits. So they build this belief, I'm playing the game, I'm winning money. If this was my real money, I would therefore be up $900 or $9,000 or whatever. And then they get like filtered across onto the real games where obviously it's built so that they don't win.
Well, that's what's going to happen. Whether it's rigged or not sure. Who makes these? Like, I don't know. Are these just
these
like
are just
multiple
things like
apps?
you can just go like Google like play blackjack online for free, or play poker online for free, or play slots online for free.
Yeah, well, most likely, I don't know. They might be owned by.
That's what I mean.
Casino sub companies or whatever, like things underneath. Regardless of whether you're winning or losing, though, maybe if I was doing that, if I was a casino and I wanted people to lose, I'd make an app and make it definitely more likely to win. Like that's just how I would do it.
Legit.
But regardless of whether you win or lose, you're doing the behavior, and the behavior is addictive. Like if you sit on a slot machine for the next year, and you just had free money to bet with, just pretend I gave you $100,000 right now, and you went to a slot machine every night, and you have $100,000 to use for the whole year on the slots. You can't lose. It's not your money. You have to use it, but you can't take it away, and you can't use any more than that. After that year ends, there's a fair chance that you're going to keep doing that because you've now done it for a year. You've got to do it every day for a year. That's the rule. I gave you $100,000 and pretend I'm just a tab. that's a pretty good way to essentially, you're paying you to get addicted, and then eventually you just pay it back. So like that's what's happening in the whole idea of this. Like all these costs and marketing and bonus bets, they're all costing the bookie money or the casino. That's just a cost for them. It's just an acquisition cost. It's like, how much does this customer need for us to put into them for them to come back?
Yeah.
Any business works out like lifetime value of customer, LTV, and the CPA or the CAC.
Cost per acquiring a customer.
Yeah, okay, so you just added a Q.
Well, no, that's, no.
Point is, how much does it cost you, how much does it cost us to basically get you to do what we want and make you valuable? Because if you're not hitting those targets, remove him, remove her, laters. If they're hitting those targets, put more resources into them. Send them a VIP manager. If they're kind of in between, well, let's kind of profile them, see if this works, see if that works, get them to do more of these things so they become more valuable, and then let's double down on the biggest addicts. Like let's fully, because I don't know the stats again, but the industry is like the big punters, like for example, someone losing like 10K a week, which this happens more maybe. They're like, they might be responsible for like 1,000 customers equivalent. Like people betting $5 and losing $5 a week is probably the most, would you say the most frequent customer? Or would you say more like the $50 loser a week is the more frequent, most common? Regardless, what I'm saying is one of the big boys, the big losing punters, is responsible for a big chunk of either the smaller fries or the
So
the
they
middle.
want you to become that person.
Yeah, and they're going to put the most resources, like any business would, into those type of customers. And they can even just, they start off the funnel at the bottom. They feed you into that $5 a week thing, and then you start earning more money. You become 21, 25, you get more money, get more wage, more disposable income, become a little bit desensitized to betting $5 because now you make a bit more money, you want to make more, get you into there, and then eventually you just get to there. And not everyone's going to get to there, of course, because some people just stay here forever. But that's how they feed you along the spectrum, which is pretty scary.
Yeah, it's scary. They just basically, I mean, what we've been discussing are just ways that they go about things to build their ideal customer, which I guess leads me to, I think, where we can...
Wait, one more.
Go on.
What about the AFL?
Oh, yeah, we haven't even touched on that.
And the sponsorships there with that.
Or mate
and
Gil.
Gil going to now Tab.
Yeah.
If you don't know, Gil McLaughlin was the CEO of AFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, CEO, director, whatever, CEO. Has now gone and become the CEO of TABCorp.
Correct.
And prior to that, he was responsible for a lot of the Sportsbet agreements and advertising.
Well, he bought
Billboards around-
Sportsbet to the AFL, yeah.
Correct. And I guess, do you reckon people actually see that and realize that now that's been created by Gil, and we have Same Game Multi advertised by Nathan Brown, and we have billboards around the venues? That's more of a Bet365 thing, which I'm not sure he was responsible for, but it was part of it, allowing it.
Yeah, do you reckon people know that the AFL get 10% of every...
Yeah, the losses from revenue.
It's not even loss, it's turnover.
It's just turnover.
I think it's turnover.
Yeah, well, that would make sense. That's just what the bookie would have done their numbers on.
Yeah.
And agreed on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, explain that maybe a bit more, because people might not understand that.
Explain what?
So what does that mean? The AFL is getting a payout for how much money is being turned over on AFL events.
Yeah, every time, if you place a $100 bet on an AFL game, the AFL gets $10 of it.
Is this just on Sportsbet or every bookie?
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
I'm going to speculate here. Tab will probably eventually become the major sponsor of the AFL. No? This is what Andrew Demetrio did.
What?
He got in with CrownBet, and then eventually BetEasy and CrownBet merged, and then they became the AFL sponsor for, like, I reckon 2020 maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number. 2019 maybe?
Well, I'd love to know when the Sportsbet AFL contract ends.
Yeah, interesting.
It'd be very interesting to know.
We're just fully... we haven't even thought of this. We haven't planned that. That's just come to your head, yeah.
Yeah, fully speculating. But I've thought that. I've definitely thought that if you're Tab... Obviously, Tab are getting smoked by Sportsbet in the advertising, the marketing game, just the all-round betting game. I don't know what the market share is.
owns the market.
Yeah,
They
I mean,
decide
Tab have all the brick and mortars, but reality is online gambling is way bigger.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to say it's bigger because I don't know, but compared to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I I mean, online gambling didn't exist 15 years ago.
That's why the tab guy in the inquiry was like encouraging the banning of all the advertising because he has a monopoly on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to clarify, people, you've like, in the inquiry that happened about 16 months ago, 17 months ago now, the Tab CEO was actually, the general findings from this inquiry was gambling advertising is way too regular. It's on the TVs, it's on the radios, it's impacting our families, it's impacting our kids. It needs to be cut back. Well, 18 months later, 16 months later, nothing has happened. However, all the CEOs were saying, no, it's fine, it's fine. The Tab CEO was saying, no, let's cut back on advertising. I agree, advertising is too much, obviously, because they're getting absolutely smoked in the online advertising game and they've got the brick and mortars. They want to go back to the old
What do you mean
school.
by the brick and mortars?
They've got all the Tab shops. Yeah, you don't see any Sportsbet shops.
Well, it's
around.
not allowed. It's must have like a license.
They must,
I think Ladbroke started that QR code thing.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I don't know if that's in Vic though.
Not sure.
But the only state I think, don't quote me, is WA where they have Tab Touch maybe.
Oh, right.
I think, which is the only one where that could be wrong. But the green machines are everywhere in any pub, in any venue, in any like that was the way of punting until maybe like the last 15 years where you could start getting online. And of course, like you said, the online game has taken over. So the only people you see in a tab now are like the old
fellas,
the old Greeks or punting on the horses, and you walk past them. I honestly sometimes walk past and I just want to walk in there and be like I want to help you, but like it's just so hard.
I just don't understand why they do it. Why would you not bet on an app with promotions, to be honest?
Well, because they're still using cash.
I know, but like, do they not realise how much more profitable they'll be, or how less quickly they'll lose their money if they're getting bonus bets back? Do they just not?
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm being fully genuine. If you're a punter and you've got $10,000, you're going to lose it less. You're going to lose it faster if you're not getting promos, but maybe you're not. Maybe this is the beauty of promos. You got to go to the tab
though to bet, and if you got to go to the tab to bet, most likely a lot of them wouldn't be doing it every day unless they're fully fucked. Like it might just be a Saturday thing for them. You could argue that the person betting on the app is like they have a potential to bet 24/7, whereas that person needs to go to the tab to bet. Yeah, so it's like. Yeah, as in no.
I know what you're saying. I know.
The only way they can lose is if they get money out of an ATM and put it into the app, into the machine. Otherwise, they can't. So I think there's an advantage to being a bit tech fucked. Like you're not savvy with tech.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just creating more friction by having to take money out, actually physically hand $50 over into a machine. You know, get a ticket, throw the ticket away when it loses. There's a lot more going on there. There's a lot of like instances where you can stop yourself and go, hang on, I've done this 10 times. I've actually walked over to the tab, put $50 in, walked back to my table and received nothing 15 times now. Am I ever going to realize that this is not rewarding my brain or rewarding my activity? Going back to what we were sort of saying before. However, if you're on a Sportsbet app, it's just bang, bang.
Yeah.
Bang, bang. Bang, bang, just keep hitting it on, and it's a lot harder for you to actually like be self-aware enough to realize what the fuck am I actually doing and why am I continuing to do this?
Well, you can even turn like the submit button off. So like a one-click submit rather than do you want to submit, do you agree? Yeah. It's kind of like bang, gone, on. Like obviously when I was doing it, I'll turn that off because it's going to make me more money faster. But like for a gambler, that's another layer of...
It's one less layer of friction.
Yeah. One thing I have for you before we get into the actionable tips... for how to not become the ideal customer. What are your thoughts on like a cashless society and how that's going to make, I guess, spending across the board, not just betting, different? So let's just say hypothetically, whoever's in charge of the world or whoever the higher powers are, whatever, if you want to go that deep, but just the agenda is to remove cash. Like all the banks are, like Macquarie now doesn't have cash at all, full cashless. Like that's a fact.
Yeah.
If you want to go to an ATM now and withdraw money, it's way harder. Sometimes you got to book in advance to get it out. Like shit, it's fucked. Yeah. You got to tell them what you're doing it for. The ATM limits have gone down to like I think 1,000 per ATM or 2,000 per day, like shit like that on the same ATM on the same card. What do you think that's going to do? One, for the gambling industry, and two, just in general, humans and their spending?
Yeah, they definitely would spend more. You'd have to think. Well, it's just easier to do.
Why is it easier to do? Like, what's the reason? Like, you mean you don't have to think about it as much? Like,
It's more available to you all the time.
Because-
But I think this has already happened though.
Yeah, it
It's like
definitely has.
this was more of a conversation for sort of 10 years ago.
Well,
but-
for gambling, it's already happened because
Yeah.
it's now online. You don't have to go to the green thing anymore.
Yeah.
But what about just in life, like in general spending, like forget gambling?
Yeah, well, I think we're already cashless, really.
Yeah, so what's that done to people's brains? Do you
What's it
think
done
they
to
think
people's-
about their spending as much, or do you think they spend more?
I'd say they're more impulsive.
Yeah, which means they spend more.
Yeah, yes, they spend more,
Yeah.
for sure. They're more impulsive, they're more likely to go, fuck it, I deserve this, I've earned this.
What do you actually reckon the reason for this is?
And I think they just become desensitized to it, ultimately, as well.
Yeah. But, okay, who do you think's do you think it's for convenience of the consumer, or do you think...
That's what it's angled as.
Yeah, or do you think this is to make people spend more money and fuck people more?
I don't know if it's directly to make people spend more money. I don't know if that's whenever, like, I just think that, online currencies was built and now all of a sudden there's all these indirect impacts from it. One of them being that people spend more money. But I don't think that, say if someone had a board and they were connecting all the dots, they weren't saying, hey, we will go to an online currency because people will spend money. I think that's just an indirect impact. And now they're actually building that up and encouraging that for sure. But I think initially it was like, well, this is convenient.
I would say they were on the board.
Really?
Yeah, flat out. Because
I don't think anyone can have that foresight.
No, of course.
Online currency. How long ago did online currency become a thing?
What do you mean by online currency?
Well, like bank transfers and...
Fuck, I don't know.
Because I remember when I was a kid, I was still getting checks from my nan.
Yeah.
Like now it's like nan would just be... You got cash.
Yeah, from my mum now.
Checks was cash, essentially.
Yeah, I didn't have many checks. It was more cash, but there was still bank.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't answer that. Electronically, I've had a bank account since I was 18. So 2010.
18? Dude, I had one when I was...
Or maybe it was 16. A bank account?
Yes. You didn't have a bank account when you were, what, 14,
I probably
15?
did, but like you couldn't log in on your phone or log in on a computer, not phone.
I remember I got my first FBOS card when I was probably about 15.
Yeah, right. Well, okay. Yeah, the convenience thing's there. No, okay. The last...
But I think the push now, think
Yes.
the push for it now is...
Not to help people.
No.
Yeah, so now you're just saying the foresight of like however long ago it wasn't
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, okay.
I just don't think you can have that foresight because it was 20 years ago. That's a serious long game. But maybe whoever's in control
Yeah.
has that
Maybe
foresight.
we'll leave some of these discussions for another one.
Yeah.
Because I could go down a rabbit hole. But
Well, you've obviously got some thoughts and opinions on the topic.
yeah, but kind of already said it. Like basically, if people are like during COVID, for example, a lot of people were given handouts, like given heaps of money.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic. Yeah,
Job seeker, job keeper, and what
you
that's
could access
done
your
now.
super
Yeah, you could
and just punt it.
Man, I spoke to someone on the phone
Yeah.
during, I think it was April. He's lost $1 million, right, on the punt.
Mm.
He withdrew his entire super and lost it in 10 days during that time.
I thought you could only withdraw like 10 grand
during
3
that
times
period,
or something.
During that period, you could do as much as you like. I withdrew every cent of mine, but it was like small, like 10K.
Of course you did.
Because I fucking hate that shit. Like back then, I wanted to have liquid money to use for match betting, so I withdrew it all, and it was like tax free. You couldn't, like, you could take it.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that was designed to fuck people, but
I'd say that was though.
maybe, because then you've essentially given people handouts. You've given them all this money. You've made them feel comfortable. You're relying on the system a bit, and then once you put the mortgage rates up and you basically make things go up, inflation, like, yeah, we're getting into like deeper things. But like this is kind of how it all works. It's like most of the time things are not designed for your benefit. A mortgage is not designed for your benefit. Yes, you can use it to your advantage, but it's not designed for your benefit. It's designed for the banks to make money.
Credit cards.
By giving credit card, massively fucking dangerous thing. Oh, actually, I got another one before we get into the last topic. Said about 3 times. What are your thoughts on Luke Hodge encouraging personal loans? Have you seen the ad?
I have seen the ad. Maybe, yeah. I vaguely know.
He got rinsed on Twitter by someone the other day. He put a post out. The post went quite viral. I commented on it just to say, like, it's a funny topic because,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that's almost as bad as teaming up with Sportsbet to send out tips because of
Well, I don't think that should be legal, in my opinion.
personal loans.
No, what he's doing.
It shouldn't be legal.
Yeah, I don't think it should be legal what he's doing.
As in what?
Well, personal loans is a bit
as
trickier.
in the personal loan shouldn't be legal, or Luke Hodge?
Him advertising.
What's the law though? How do you police
Well,
that?
I mean, there's laws saying that there's big laws in the crypto world.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you advertise, I don't know the exact specifics, but it's like certain pages, if they advertise a certain crypto platform or a certain coin or something, you get fined because it's providing financial advice or whatever, and you don't have the necessary qualifications to provide this sort of shit.
Yeah, but
I
the
don't know.
AFL's a crypto.com or whatever.
Yeah,
sponsor.
I'm not entirely sure.
Sponsor for that.
Maybe platforms is different.
Yeah, then that'll be 100%. Like if
Yeah.
you're telling, hey, go buy a fucking Jizz coin or something,
That's not a coin, but yeah.
Isn't it?
Jizz Lord was the
whatever
coin.
it is.
Yeah. I think that bombed though, that coin. But yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
but like my point is like, I mean, is Luke Hodge a personal financial advisor?
No, but
Does he
it's
have
just
those qualifications?
all it is. Well, firstly, I would even say that like encouraging someone to get a personal loan is pretty fucking cooked.
Of course it is.
Like that is fucked. Like it literally says, like the ad is,
Mm.
this guy's sitting there and he's like, oh, what do you want? And then he just goes through his dreams and it's like this Jeep car, like really expensive $45,000 car. And then Luke Hodge just comes and goes, well, you can get 45K here. Just download this app and get a loan. It's like, brother, like who's getting a personal loan most of the time? Like fully people who are desperate.
people
like
who have no
they
money.
no money.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, a person getting a personal loan is, I would almost say 95% of the time, pretty fucked.
Well, pretty fucked is a pretty sort of interesting
No, as in
descriptive
financially,
word.
they have minimal
Yeah.
capital, money, whatever. They're in
Yeah.
probably debt already. They need to get out of the hole, and they've essentially
Yeah, I'd probably
just
even
been,
say more than 95%.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and this guy's an AFL hero. It's like we've gone to another industry here. It's the same things though. It's like get the guy telling people what to do because he's a hero, and we'll get the odd fucking little sucker that buys in and
It's the power of
essentially-
influence. The power of influence is scary. Like, and this goes back to, I guess, tying it all together with what we start. I don't know. We did touch on this at the start. Is profiling you. It's the more they know about you, the more they can target you with the specific influence that you need to hear for them to get you to do exactly what you need to do.
yeah.
It's like they're not going to, like, for instance, the paid ads or whatever. Like we sort of touched on it, but we didn't really. Like I think Sportsbet spend like. I read something, it was like 70 million on paid ads in an 18-month period, which I thought was unders, which is something I read on an article. But they're sending those specific tailored ads directly to
How many
the
ads did you
specific
find out they
person.
were doing today? Per day?
Yeah, this is scary. I was having a look. Anyone can look, actually. You can go onto Facebook and just be like, show me the paid ads for a particular page, a particular brand, whatever. Sportsbet are sending out like, in the month or in the period of like a week period in June, there would have been, I'd say, close to 70 ads out there, I reckon. That's
In a
just
week?
on, yeah. That's
So that's
just
10 a
on-
day.
Yeah, about that.
So for context, that's 10 new videos.
Yeah. And there's so many of them I had not even seen either.
Yeah, so
Ever seen. And it was your typical characters, but it was like your C grade characters that are on the Sportsbet ads, like all the guys that are like in the background. There's like a few familiar faces that pop up on the Sportsbet ads, right? And there was a few people that are always in the background. These guys were like the main character in all these ads. So these are obviously like, just looking at it, it was incredible to see the production that they must have creating advertisements would be fully insane. Obviously, we've started to delve into paid ads. That's how I've got into this. And to build an advertisement, we're not even talking Facebook, TV, radio. To build one advertisement takes a team of content writers, script writers, directors, editors, everything,
Copywriters,
posting,
yeah.
spending money, everything. There's a whole team behind it. They would be having the most ridiculous production of advertisements being built where all these ads aren't even getting hit to like the general public yet. They're just testing. They're just seeing what you react to, just seeing what you do. Why you like, are you going to click on the page? Are you going to get onto the Sportsbet app? Are you going to download the app after seeing this ad? They're gathering all this information, tracking everyone's behavior, and then just pumping you with the one that makes you do the thing that they want you to do the most with the highest chance of doing it.
yeah, it's you're up against that as a punter.
Yeah.
Like literally, what fucking hope do you have?
What fucking hope?
We could talk about this for literally days.
Yeah.
And we might have to do an ad series where we pull it apart. But
yeah, we probably should.
Let's talk about some actionable tips that people can do to basically avoid becoming a bookie's perfect customer.
Well, before we do that, let's say inverse thinking. How would you be the perfect customer for the bookie?
Yeah, which you like that theory. It's like if you want to get good or better at something, think about
what you wouldn't do.
Or
it's easier to think about what you wouldn't
is.
do. Like the human brain is just wired to think negatively. It's like if someone says to you, 10 things that you hate in your life. Oh, fucking this, fucking that, fucking this. 10 things you're grateful for. Coffee? Like it's hard to do, but it's like, so you apply that to what are the things that are stopping you from getting better. It's easy. You can just go bang, bang, bang. This is stopping me. This is stopping me. All right, do the fucking opposite of it.
Yeah.
So if you could be a degenerate punter.
You want me to tell you how I would lose the most amount of money in the most efficient way? Okay, so I would start off by not thinking about how I'm placing my bets. So I just put my money into my app, and if it wins, great. Next time I'll just put the whole amount on the next bet. If it loses, going to go put more money in. So my depositing is just whatever happens as a result of my bets. I'm just going to do either I'm just going to put the max on. So in other words, I'm just going to ladder everything every time I bet. Or I'm going to just keep putting more in until I can't punt anymore because my money's zero in my bank. That's the first one. My betting sizes are just going to be however I'm feeling on that day. So might have had a fight with my partner. Fuck it. I'm going to try and I can go sit on my app for an hour and watch the races and just bet.
This would happen.
On a Saturday night, during the day with my mates, I'm going to drink as many beers as possible. I'm going to get my app out once I'm fully hammered, and I'm just going to fucking just start punting.
The one thing I'd say to that is you wouldn't necessarily plan to do that.
No,
That's just what would happen.
Yes.
Because you'd just be hammered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you are
We're sort of laughing about
under
this,
the influence,
but the reason I'm laughing,
this
just to clarify, is because JP would never do this, and it's just really funny to imagine him slamming beers and then punting the lights out. But the sad reality is this is the reality for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna find the AFL matches for that night, and I'm gonna open up a bet with mates with 10 of my mates, and I'm gonna put in my tips, and I'm gonna tell them all to get on board with me. And then I'm going to make sure that I have the biggest bet in there because I want to win the most. But no, going back to the more serious stuff, I'm going to keep betting on markets where basically I know I'm going to lose the most. So my same game multis, I'm going to add the most legs possible. I'm going to add like really high payouts, and I'm going to place a lot of them. And then when I start losing all these bets, I'm just going to keep going. Like Monday comes in, I've just lost 500 for the weekend. I'm going to keep going on Monday. I'm going to bet on the trots at 4 p.m. I'm going to bet on the greyhounds. I'm going to bet into the UK markets at night. Essentially, what else? I'm gonna take the tips that are popping up on the screen that the popular same gamers.
Omen bets.
Place
a few omen bets.
Yep, like fucking this horse called JP runs. I'm going to back that. I'm going to double down because if it wins, I may as well cash in.
Yeah. Went to school with a guy called Johnny, and my boy Johnny's running.
Yep. All these things like.
No, but this is the thing. We're somewhat talking about this tongue in cheek a little bit. But this is.
I kind of feel
reality.
bad talking about it like that.
I actually feel a little bit bad. I do, because it's like, yes, we're talking tongue in cheek and we're taking the piss out of it a little bit, but it's reality. Like this is actually how people think. They're sitting there going, "Oh no, I don't know. Bryce Gibbs knocked on my door 2 weeks ago, and there's a horse running called Johnny Gibbs. I don't know why the fuck that just came to mind, but that's like what happens. You just draw these really irrational. You make these really irrational decisions because you lose all train of logic or all train of actually the ability to think and be self-aware with what you're actually doing.
Yeah. The other thing I just thought of, I saw this bloke actually in a Facebook group, and he hit a winner the other week. So I think I'm going to message him because he might have some good tips. He hit this 21 leg multi.
Yeah.
And
I'm just going to try and copy him.
Well, everyone below him was asking for tips, and and I'm going to message him. So I think that's what I would do if I was to try and lose more. Is I'd go message someone who's just recently had a big win. Might go follow like Super Multi Tips or someone like that who's won like 300K off a multi. Because if he's done it, he's probably pretty good at betting.
Yeah. I
might message the guy who won Tats Lotto last week as well and ask for his numbers.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. They're pretty good at betting. The words, he must be pretty good at betting.
Man.
People wouldn't even know what pretty good at betting means.
I don't know where he's at because I think he blocked us like 2 years ago when we were kind of telling people, not attacking him, but like, man, like protect yourselves because you don't want to follow someone betting like this. And the reason why he never got banned by bookies is because they know this. They identify his patterns and they're like, yeah, okay, we've lost 250K or whatever off whatever bet, but like fair chance it's going to come back.
Well, I know.
It's a matter of time.
Call me cynical, but I always had the thought of potentially he was a paid actor.
Oh, no, that was real.
Nah, I think he was real. But, I mean, you've talked about it in this podcast where maybe you haven't, I don't know. But I reckon we've talked about it in the past where bookies will go into these groups with fake bet slips. Sportsbet, I'm fairly sure we've had very good reason to believe that they have done this, not necessarily Sportsbet, maybe bookies.
Yeah, I don't think Sportsbet doing it, but small bookies for sure.
Yeah, post fake bet slips of huge winning bet slips.
Yeah.
To then give people the hope that this could be you. And therefore, people encourage that behaviour and go and do it.
Well, it's pretty easy to get people to believe it.
Of course it is.
Like,
we've actually...
Well, Dabble's a good... we haven't even touched on Dabble, right? I follow a massive influencer on Dabble and they're getting paid a percentage, right? You look at like Bet with Benny... What's his name?
Oh, Benny Scarf.
Benny Scarf. Like, he's created a fucking a craze of like the same as Tim Naki where you're betting like $1 or a cent for every follow or whatever. And then at the end of it all, it's like, okay, I'm on Dabble, come follow me sort of thing. Now that's for his own benefit, but ultimately Dabble's created that feature, which is one we haven't spoken about, where it's like, we will reward you for encouraging people to bet on our platform. And if you get the most follows and the more people that copy your bets, the more money you make. So they're now essentially leveraging an influencer, a popular character, someone who's got high attention on them. And this is like extra layers of like allowing people to market for them.
Yeah. And it just normalizes it as well.
And then you got Tim Naki now, who's now coming out. Someone's been sending me these, Mitch from the community. He keeps sending me these videos of Tim Naki now saying like gambling, you'll lose. The house is going to eventually win. It's like, brother, why weren't you saying that?
It's like, weird, isn't it?
3 months ago when we were like getting rinsed for calling him someone who's encouraging gambling.
Do you reckon he's potentially
100%. I'll play it.
Yeah, play it.
Because it's pretty damning to watch. Because sent it to me here. Listen to this. You can actually hear the pain in his voice.
Yeah.
Also, just while I'm here, a staunch reminder that gambling is not a way to make money, okay? It is for entertainment purposes only. Right? We do it for fun. So if you're losing sleep, you're getting anxiety over a lost punt, then you're betting beyond your means or betting when you shouldn't be. So please, there's plenty of different outlets all over the world, depending on where you are, who you can approach to help with your habits. If gambling has stopped being fun, because I know you might say it's hypocritical, but I have been on a very lucky run this year. The 13 years I've been able to gamble legally leading up to this one, not all butterflies and roses. So trust me, the house does always win eventually. It is just meant to be for fun, not to make money. Please, everyone, just try and remember that.
What's to go there? You'd love to put a little compilation there just to show people the difference between reality and fucking expectation.
Oh, man.
It makes me a little bit sick. Like, I haven't I can't see he's blocked
it's
or whatever.
too hard to follow. He's blocked.
And someone sends me that. It's really difficult because, like, in the heat of the moment when no one's thinking, it's like, fuck yeah, this guy's a hero. And then he was up like, did he hit a mil?
Oh, he went close.
Yeah, but then he lost 500K.
Yeah.
500K. He lost 500K. So, like...
How do you reckon he's gotten to that point of putting that video up there?
Oh, man, he would have... I don't know how that's happened, but one, he would be getting attacked in the comments, I think.
I reckon his DMs would be full of people being like...
You are a fuckwit sort of thing.
Nah, I wouldn't even say that.
To lose.
Yeah, be like, hey, Tim, I'm down 100 grand. How do I win?
Sure, do you reckon people would do that?
I would.
Yeah, but that's kind of like a. I mean, people
How
say
did you
like,
do it? Hey,
that's
Tim.
a victim, like blaming him.
Bro, of course it is.
What do you mean?
Of course it is.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
They're
people will go,
degenerate
oh, fuck
punters.
them, that's their problem. But like realistically, he might have been the reason. Again, it's still a choice that they made. But like he's encouraged millions of people to bet. Whether he knows it or not. There's been 1 million, 2 million, 10, 50, 100 million, however many people saw his shit, who have now seen the possibility of someone winning 500K, 1 million off blackjack. So what do you think that does to the brain? It's like, well, that is the availability heuristic. Tim Naki is the one in
He's the hope.
365 days of the year that someone gets eaten by a shark in the bay.
Yeah.
So he, without doing this, he hasn't planned this. He was just betting, right? Then eventually he got a casino deal. Then eventually it was a sign-up. Then it was a blackjack syndicate. And the casinos are fucking laughing because they've got this hero. And same with Benny Scarf. He's doing the bookies marketing for them. And a lot of people are a bit more aware of it with that. And it's a bit more of a educated audience, I'd say. Whereas the casino's more, would you say it's more like degenerates that are kind of not really seeing that stuff common? Whereas horse punting is more like, okay, you will lose.
And online casinos, I think, are a bit newer as well. So it's like people haven't felt the brunt of it.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah.
Because like we saw when it eventually came through, like we're like, when is the casino deal coming? When's this going to get launched? And then eventually got launched and it was like, yeah, we're going to allow you to bet basically for free. And if the syndicate loses, like, we'll give you all your money back, you'll all get refunded sort of thing.
And then there was turnover requirements on that as well. So you had to turn over. This was something that, did we talk about this?
We spoke about how you can 30x the turnover and then that's obviously going to
but did we talk about this on camera or off camera?
No, I don't think we talk about the casino deal on camera.
No. So it's all these, I'm fairly sure, I think it was the same with Tim's, but I'm not sure. But you could, if you deposited into this syndicate that he had, you had to turn over the refund that you got. I'm not too sure if it ended up having to be refunded. I don't know. But I know for some casino deals, it's like deposit 50, get $50 in free spins.
Yeah.
The turnover's like, you have to
30x.
turn it over 30 times or something.
Which is $1,500 worth.
You're just going to lose your money.
You can't, unless you, well, there's an edge there built in, and the more you play the edge, like you said, if you bet it 1 million times that way, you're going to have zero at the end of it.
Reality is, you could say to someone, deposit $1, I'll give you $1 million in casino credits, but you have to turn it over
1 million times.
1 million times. So obviously,
but not just $1 million amount, 1 million frequency.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we're going off. Yeah, but it's like, well, who cares? I could give you as much free as I want. I could just pump you with, you can have as much free as you want, but in reality, it's not actually free.
Well, that's what I said before. I give you 100K for the next 12 months to go in the pokies, and I'm the tab, and I'm like, I'll take that bet. I'll probably end up winning across the majority of people. I probably not 100K, but you probably end up would win in the end.
Scary. Anyway, we are rambling on a little bit. Let's wrap it up a little. We've still got a bit to go. One final topic to talk about, and that is, we've talked about a number of different ways that the bookies approach getting customers, keeping customers on, encouraging degenerate behavior, encouraging losing behavior, encouraging people to lose whatever. We've also had a bit of a spiel about, some actual, how would you be the ideal customer for the bookie, but a bit more practical. What are some actionable tips for people to basically avoid being an ideal customer for a bookie? So we've talked about how to be an ideal customer. Now, what are some very actionable, practical things that people can do the next time they're about to bet, whatever it is, that they can go, all right, hang on, I do not want to be the ideal customer for the bookie, so I'm going to do this instead?
Well, we've said start becoming more aware.
Yeah.
But that's not an actual tip.
Yeah.
So let's move into things, for example, that will create a bit of friction, as we like to say, between you losing money. So the more chance there is for something to be harder, the less likely it is to happen. So for example, if you were to, let's create a separate bank account for your betting. So you make the new bank account and you know that only the money that comes out of that bank account can be used for your betting. Now, obviously you could still, if you linked your normal bank to the card, that's game over for you. But if you make a rule, I make this bank account, I only bet with the money in this bank account, and I only link the card link to that bank account to this app, then if that gets to 0, you have to transfer money out of your normal account to get to that to actually bet again. So there's a bit of friction there and a bit of fuck, can't be fucked sort of thing. Or fuck, I've got to transfer this across.
Well, you're
better
more
not
aware
do
of it. Yeah.
I've already lost this much. I shouldn't really be going into my wages money or my savings. Probably shouldn't do that. So that's one. That's super basic. Now, for most people, that might not be actionable because they've already got their card linked to their app. So if you've already got an existing account, you're pretty much screwed. So what I'd say is maybe start that now. Go and make that bank account if you are going to be punting. Now, obviously,
I'm sure you could remove cards on your account.
You can remove the card, yeah. Maybe remove like Apple Pay, things like that, just to make it a little bit harder. But in terms of the way you're betting, you also wanted to say like a monthly deposit limit. Now, are you talking about the actual bank or the betting account or like what?
I'd say it's losses.
Okay.
How much are you willing to lose? Actually find a way to track how much you are willing to lose and make sure you don't overdo that.
Well, okay. Should we go into that hypothetical of like
I think so.
Losing? All right. So ask yourself this. In the next how many years?
Let's do 10.
10 years.
Easier number.
In the next 10 years, how much money would you be comfortable losing if you were betting? And work out how much you'd have to lose every week for you to not hit that. So let's just go with...
Let's do an example.
What?
$10,000.
So $1,000 a year? Is that too low?
Yeah, but when you say $10,000, it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that'll prove the point.
Well, yeah, $1,000 a year.
It's not much. It's $20 a week.
But then you've lost 10K.
Over 10 years.
What about if it was 30K?
$60 a week.
Which isn't fuck all. Most people would be betting 200, 500. Like a lot of people in that category, they're not even thinking about it. And when you say it like that, they obviously don't lose every single week. But the average says $60 a week. Is that right? 3 years?
Yeah. $60 a week over 3 years
is
30 grand.
30 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck. It's pretty easy to see where people end up losing hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually easy to lose hundreds of thousands when you think of it that way.
Yeah.
Like you build up, you lose $5 every weekend, then you lose $10 every weekend, then you lose $20 every weekend, then you lose $50 every weekend, then you lose $100 every weekend.
Yeah, and that's the average that we've just done.
So I guess to summarize the actionable tip, it's like think about your bankroll.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
It's like your bankroll is how much you have to bet. But think of it over a 10-year period. So you've got $10,000 to bet over the next 10 years. If you lose it all, you're out. You're done. So how much can you lose every single weekend? It's like your example that you said off air. It was like if you have, let's just pretend in the next 10 years, you can only eat 1,000 meals that you can only eat over the next 10 years. Yeah.
Would you go and eat 3 a day for the next year?
No.
Why not?
You'd
so the rule is if you don't, like as soon as you eat 1,000 meals, you got 10 years, you have a ration of 1,000 meals. Pretend this is fucking Squid Game and you have to follow the rules. If you don't, you get eliminated.
Yeah.
If you eat 1,001 meals, you die.
Yeah, the 1,001th meal is death. Yeah.
So you need to actually ration your bank. You need to ration your food. So you're not going to eat 3 meals a day. So if your punting hypothetical was, I can only lose $10,000 in the next 10 years, how am I going to prevent myself from going to more than that? Because if you go more than that, you die. That's the hypothetical.
Yeah.
So now think about that with your betting. Like you said, how much do I comfortably want to lose in the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Work that out per week. And if you're going over that already, well, there's your fucking self-awareness to know what's going to happen in the next 10 years.
Yep.
What about in terms of staking or unit sizing and shit like that? Like, can we tell people your favorite one is like bet $1?
Yep.
But is that practical?
I think it is.
So
if you want to stop losing on the punt, bet $1.
So never bet more than $1.
Never bet more than $1.
What's that going to do?
Well,
what if someone places $1 million $1 bets?
Mate, they'll get arthritis in their thumb before bloody even if they do, even if you place $1 million $1 bets, like depending on what you're betting them on, unless you're betting them on full-on donations,
Yeah,
like
negative EV stuff. You probably will get back, I don't know,
you probably
half of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a bit more.
It's the
If
amount
you're
of
betting on singles, you would.
to bet 1 million bets a day. I mean,
A day.
1 million bets. If it like
It depends. If you, let's just take a line.
that's going to take you 50 years to do.
Yeah.
If you lose $1 million over 50 years, I'd say that's a good result. Considering if you weren't betting $1, you'd lose your life before that. Like you'd have to steal and rob. Like
Yeah, if you were doing like bigger bets.
yeah, you just wouldn't be able to. Like 1 million bets. Like that's going to.
Oh, not $1 million, 1 million bets.
1 million bet. Well, if you're betting $1 and you bet 1 million,
Yeah.
like it's just not
versus
possible.
1 million bets of like random stakes.
Yeah, then you're
Yeah,
fucked.
Yeah, interesting. And what that goes into as well is what you've done there. You've bet $1, right? You've created a unit size. So your unit size never goes above that. So you now, no matter what happens, if you win, I don't know, you might hit a $20 leg or a $20 win from one of those $1 bets. Your next bet as a gambler normally would be $18 or $15 because you've now got 20 in your account.
Yeah,
It's now still $1.
still $1.
And what that does is it creates, well, it removes the emotional chase losses. It removes the I've had a big win, let's win more. It removes the alcohol where you're blind and you're putting more bets on because you're emotional. It removes the stress and anger that you've had when you had a fight with your partner, and you're only just betting $1. So the bookies can only ever take $1 off you every time you lose.
Yeah,
rather than 100 or 200. So that's
you're
definitely
basically just providing boundaries for yourself.
I think
Providing boundaries where you're restricting yourself to fall into the traps that the bookies want you to fall into.
Well, people will say to that, "Oh, you'll still end up losing anyway."
You will.
You will, but it'll
100%.
take you way fucking longer.
Yeah.
And therefore, you are going to lose less because our lives aren't finite. So, are finite. So you don't have an unlimited life. Like if someone's, like I said at the start, if someone's losing 500 in a day versus someone's losing 500 in 6 months, the 500 in a day is a better customer for the bookies.
Yeah,
Because
correct.
eventually there's going to be 180 more days of that potentially versus one. So,
Yeah. One last one I want to talk about. Before this podcast, we were discussing what is something that we can tell people when they're sitting around a table, they're at the pub, they're at their mate's house, they're watching the footy, the game's about to start, races are on, whatever, and one of their mates pulls out their phone and goes, "Oh, I'm thinking about this Sportsbet same game multi," and then the next person pulls their phone out, and all of a sudden you got 10 blokes all sitting around a table with a beer in front of them, all on their phone placing a bet. Now, anyone that goes to the pub regularly, I think will have been and found themselves in a situation exactly like that before. What is something we were discussing beforehand? Like, what is something that we can tell people who find themselves in that position, who, if they were sitting with their mum and their dad and their sisters and their dog at home, they're probably not pulling their phone up. While they're less likely to pull their phone up to put a same game multi on. But because they're with their mates, they just get sucked into it all. They get sucked into wanting to fit in, do what their mates are doing. Everyone else is doing it. It's okay to lose. Boys, whatever. What is something that we can actually say to someone in that moment who doesn't actually want to place the bet, but they just do it because they feel the need to, because everyone else is doing it? We had this conversation and we actually couldn't come up with like a sound, actionable piece of information or like a sound tip that we could say to people to prevent people from doing it, as is the culture that the bookies have built, that it's become so normal that it's so hard to not do that. So that was a lot of words. In the comments, well, I don't know if you've got anything you want to say to that.
I struggle with this because I can't actually say anything that wouldn't get laughed at or wouldn't be like, "Oh, fuck you, you're fun at parties," sort of thing.
We'll
like,
we can have a discussion
my
about
one's
this.
like, this is stupid, but like it requires you to think before it, which most of the time people are not going to do in this situation. But it's like, well, put yourself in a room and pretend your grandma or someone you respect is watching you. Would you act in that way to place those bets? Like pretend that I don't know, someone you love is watching every bet you place. And that's not specifically to this scenario.
Yeah.
But it's like, would you be comfortable them watching you? Pretend it's like a big brother and they see everything. You pretend you're live on fucking the news and every activity you do, it's like it can be seen. It's like, that's how I would.
The problem I have with that, that would work great if you're talking to someone who's trying to like get over like a drug addiction.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, every time you do a line, think that your mum's watching you. It'd be oh fuck.
Well,
but with betting, because it is so normalized, the mum probably wouldn't even care.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the problem. They'd be like, oh, Jimmy,
Yeah, it's all good.
All the boys
My
do it.
fucking husband used to do that
Yeah,
too.
like,
It's all good. It's been part of the family for 70 years.
But like it would. It's like, oh yeah, no, my mum was a punter. Like that. Unfortunately, it's become so normalized that it's great, and I think that would help for some people. But for a lot of people, they'd be like, mum wouldn't care anyway.
Well, I honestly, like, I would have to. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
No, yeah,
Can you?
No, honestly, because I've fallen into this trap myself. I actually don't know.
So what do we want? People to explain what they would do to help someone to not get sucked into it?
Yeah.
And this is assuming they don't want to place the bet, yeah?
Yeah.
So you're sitting in a group of mates, 8 of you there.
Yeah. But they're just doing it because they want to fit in with their mates. Everyone's doing it. They feel awkward. Like, oh, fuck. Everyone's got their phone looking at multis. Like, what am I doing? Just drinking a beer? Like.
So what do you want? How do you avoid that situation? Or how do you prevent yourself from getting sucked in?
Yeah, what can you do to distract yourself? Like, it's hard because literally we were saying it's almost like you can't hang out with your mates. Like, that's almost the extremity of it because it's so hard to not get sucked in. But obviously not hanging out with your mates is not the practical solution. So it's like, it's literally, if anyone can come up with a good tip, hats off to you. Don't know if we'll reward you. We probably will reward you. I'm just speaking off the top of my head. Yeah, we're not just doing
that because of the thing. I'm actually curious as to how someone would deal with
that.
No,
I'm genuinely curious. I genuinely want people's feedback on what could you say to someone. They're freshly 18, 19. They're going to the pub with their mates and everyone just wants to place a multi. What would you say to them to prevent them from getting sucked in, from doing something they don't want to do, don't get sucked into the peer pressure? Now, there's going to be haters that are going to be like...
You have to assume that person doesn't want to bet. They are aware they don't want to do it as well. It's not just like telling people, like in the comments, oh, just let him go, it's fun. We don't want that.
No, this person doesn't want to bet. Yeah.
What would you tell them?
it's literally impossible.
Yeah. It's a hard one.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
So if you enjoyed that podcast, hopefully you learned something about how the bookies operate, how they manipulate you, all their little tricks, tips, whatever. And you want to learn a little bit more around what we do. We obviously teach match betting. We teach you how to become less of a losing punter. We teach you how to become more aware, improve your mindset. We have a free course, which is actually linked in the description. If you go and start there, please do so. You can learn a lot about what it is that is possible in this space. And obviously, if you want to watch more podcasts or anything else, don't forget to check out the rest of our YouTube. I promise you'll learn a lot. See you next time.
Cheers.